In the 1940s, the world raced to create atomic weapons. Robert Oppenheimer and his team were successful in harnessing nuclear energy to make a new and terrifying weapon, the atomic bomb. The arms race that followed between the East and the West, both chasing ever more powerful weapons, defined the Cold War. In trying to explain the complex physics behind nuclear weapons, Oppenheimer said, "I can make it clearer, but I cannot make it simpler." In other words, complicated ideas can be put in a way that is clear to understand, even if the topic is difficult. Writing an introduction for a higher history essay takes a similar approach. You will take complicated ideas, like the Cold War for instance, and make them clear to understand. This is what an essay is, and it all starts with the introduction. Get this bit right, and the rest will be explosive. This is Think 4. Writing an introduction for a higher history essay is straightforward once you understand the three main steps: context, line of argument, and factors. Let's look at this essay question on why the Cold War started. The first key step to writing an excellent introduction for higher history is to place the question in its historical context. Easy, right? It is if you know what context means. The easiest way to do this is to set the scene. Imagine whoever's reading your essay knows nothing about the start of the Cold War, so you're basically painting a picture of what was happening at that time in relation to the question. In this case, the arms race and the start of the Cold War. The easiest way to do this is to begin with a clear start date in one sentence, describing what was happening at the beginning of that specific time period. Then in another sentence, describe what's happening at the end of the time period. Don't worry if you don't know specific start and end dates, but you should be able to describe each in detail using other key facts such as names or places. However, it is an SQA requirement that you have at least 2 separate sentences for context. For example, when answering the above question, the context may look like: on the 6th of August 1945, the USA dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima and 3 days later on Nagasaki to end the war with Japan. However, rather than just ending the war, a nuclear arms race between USA and USSR occurred. By the 1950s, tensions between the superpowers were at an all-time high and a Cold War had emerged. Once you have set the scene, you then need to include a clear line of argument. Your line of argument is crucial to your entire essay. You're answering the question, which should be clear to see in the introduction, throughout the main body, and in the conclusion. Essentially, you should be sewing your line of argument throughout your essay. For example, let's look back at that previous question. Do you think the arms race was the main reason for the start of the Cold War? If yes, make this clear and provide a little explanation, which you will then build on in your essay. If not the most important, make a judgment on the arms race. It's crucial you refer to the factor in the question, and again, a little analysis. And finally, the last and easiest step of your introduction, the other factors. This really depends on your line of argument. If you decide the factor in the question is the most important, you can simply introduce the other factors, which although not the most important, do still play a role. If the factor in the question is not the most important, in your opinion, you must make clear which factor is, as well as the other factors involved. For example, other factors alongside the arms race played a role. Wartime alliances were very important to the start of the Cold War. However, the most important reason for the emergence of the Cold War was ideological differences, the foundation of all future disagreements. You should aim for at least 3 factors, and you must make a clear judgment on each, and they all must be in a separate sentence. So next time you begin to write an introduction for a higher history essay, think carefully about the 3 steps discussed. 1. Context. 2. Line of argument. And 3. Factors. I agree with Oppenheimer, the famous physicist. Complicated ideas can be made clear if you think very carefully about how you introduce them. Set out the introduction carefully and you're on track to writing a truly explosive essay. This was Think 4. Thanks for watching.